and there's a lot of dispute on, fire because, if you work, it's crazy how people get so worked up about
Semantics,
these.
I know, but just the
Yeah,
ability to be free and to like, okay, I can
right.
stop this career job and like work
Yeah,
less or do something that's more fun for me and not worry about the income as much. Um,
right. The
so
5 part's the important part, right?
yeah.
The RE part, that's optional. And I'm not so good at the RE part because I know that with our savings, my wife and I can save a lot of money. It's very tempting to jump in, especially if it's a job you like, and just hammer it and then pull back and rest if you need to. Um, so yeah, I'm not good at the RE part. I'll be honest, because to me, I'm a working class person, and so if there's an opportunity to save $100,000 a year, that's kind of hard to pass up. You know what I mean?
Hmm. You're like a fire, like
Um,
financial independence, retire off and on. You'll like
well,
you take
you
a
know,
year off, go back to it.
well, you know this. You've jumped to
Yeah.
many different districts. Teaching's very flexible. If you're a decent teacher, and depending on your subject area, they need people all the time.
Hmm.
Middle school, uh, every high school in America, they have middle school language arts, middle school social studies, science, math, and that's not going to shrink. I just don't see that going away. Um, Spanish, science, math, you can always find a job. It might not be your first choice, but if you're only going in there for a year or two to max out your savings, I think you approach those type of even less desirable jobs, more challenging jobs,
Hmm.
with a different perspective because you're not going for 30 years. I mean, I don't
Part of
view
your
any
plan.
jobs that.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying I don't view any positions like I'm going there for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's just not the way I see a job. The longest I've ever stayed anywhere was 7. And I felt stale the last 2. I just got to go do different things. And that was a good job. It's just that it was time to move on and do other things.
Has anyone ever taken issue with it? I know you said during one interview someone asked about it, but did any district ever like have an issue with you leaving early or no? They just are used to the
I, no, I mean, I think they know that kind of comes with the hiring.
hmm.
Yeah, and I thought it would be a problem at various points. And just because I'll give you an example, when you have like a specialist degree,
Hmm.
they have to pay you more. Well, I asked the principal about that. I said, look, I just have a question. Would that prevent you from hiring someone? And he said, no, because the state pays that portion of your.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he said, here in Georgia, he said, the only thing we're on the hook for is the local supplement. What he said, the difference between a master's and a specialist be a couple $100, maybe $1,000. He said, that's no problem. So he said, don't let that ever factor into your decision making. That, at least for here in Georgia. Maybe it's not like that in other states.
So when you're looking for different jobs, do you like a lot of times when I've taken a job, you find out after the fact what the retirement options are? Do you look in advance, like on an online system or anything to see like, okay, do they offer I don't know, Vanguard or do they offer a 457?
Well, yeah, I'll ask the administrator. I said, do you all have 403Bs, 457? I pretty much assume they're going to have a fee bloated option, an annuity product.
Hmm.
But if they have something like Vanguard, I would use it. Or if they have Aspire, TIAA-CREF, I would use that to actually invest in. But I don't let a bad 403B prevent me from um, taking a job because I'll just park the money there and move it when I leave. Now, I will avoid anything that has surrender charges. I'm
Hmm.
just philosophically opposed to those. That's basically they just take a percentage of your money when you move it. It's not their money; it's my money.
Hmm.
Um, but I realize I'm in this. I'm a 0.01 percenter, even contemplating doing this. But yeah, I always want to know what I'm going into. If they didn't have a 457, I wouldn't go work there. Make it work for you. Yeah.
All right, and you touched a little bit into there are ways that we can increase salary, like in our school positions. I know for me, I picked up a position in one of the schools that I was at for 3 years, where I was working with a step team, and I got a little incremental there. But what are some other ways that you have found that give you a little boost to the salary?
Well, coaching, and I'm an old basketball player, so that's something I know how to do. And always saying I'm 6'7", so they come back and ask me, "Hey, are you interested in coaching?" And at school I'm in currently, everyone does something extracurricular, and I figure, you always take what you know. That's the way I view it. So I'm doing basketball, and I think there's a flat fee and then a percentage of my salary. So it's very worth doing. I don't know if it's 10%, but maybe a little below that. But I mean, some districts, I know that if you're the head coach of, say, wrestling, basketball, football, baseball, it's 10% on your salary. And I knew a guy, I met him when he was doing his specialist. He was the head baseball coach and the head wrestling coach. He's gonna be working on a specialist degree. And automatically in my head, I'm just thinking, ka-ching, this guy's just, he's just pushing his salary upward. And then they introduced me to his wife right there, who was in the same program, specialist. So they were basically doing what my wife and I did. Um, and I guess I need to spell that out. Your next degree, and here in Georgia, if you have a bachelor's and you get a master's, you're going to make about 6,000 more. The next level to specialist, 6,000 again. And if you get your EDD or PhD, that's 6,000 more. So effectively, you and I could be teaching the same subject. You've got a PhD, I've got a bachelor still. We have the same amount of experience, and you're making 18,000 more a year than me. And if you're coaching a sport and I'm not, you might be making 28,000. And
Yeah.
people always ask, why are you doing that? Well, I mean, I'm funding accounts, and it does make the year a little stressful at times, but it does make things go fast. I can tell you that. Sometimes it's a blur because you're doing so much. Um, Another thing I should mention is that teaching extended day. When I was at LaGrange High School, I did that 7 years. We had a four block period. I didn't have a study hall. I just taught all four periods.
That blows my
Just
mind. I've never heard of that around here, but I've heard you mention it a couple times. I can't imagine
yeah.
having no downtime during your day, but
Well, I had lunch, so sometimes you'd see me at the copier eating my sandwich, making extra copies, and the good thing is sometimes that's a bigger school. That can be nice there is that you might have all four classes of Spanish 1. You see what I mean? Or all four of Spanish 2. You have something like that where it's basically you go teach one, you got one prep. And I can do that all day long. I feel like a parrot sometimes, and sometimes I don't. Have I already said that in this class? Because it's starting to overlap and the classes are kind of blending together in my mind. But that was, you had to be kind of, the physical stress of that was a little tough, but like the mental prep, it wasn't too much because it's one class I had to do.
okay.
And I was also then I was teaching 2 sports doing that, and I was doing my 6th year, and my wife was pregnant, so that was a very busy time.
Whew.
Yeah, that was fun to get done with that. I felt like I was on vacation.
Yeah. Well, you work. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
losing
but
one job.
yeah, and I'll mention real quick, my wife, she did her 6th year. She's been like in the Technology Student Association, did that, FBLA. So she did clubs, and there were supplements. FBLA supplements, those are pretty big. I didn't know they were that big, but I was a couple of years we made really good money when we were just maxed out working hard like that. My wife's not working this year, so
Yeah, I remember you
we're
saying
off the
it was a
gravy
year
train.
off. Yep.
Yeah.
What does she typically teach? I'm trying to remember.
Technology ed and business ed.
Okay. Um, I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit about the idea of geo arbitrage and how that's different than like taking a vacation, but like living in a low cost area, basically, right? Can you explain that a little bit better than I am? Let's see.
Yeah. Geo arbitrage just means that, basically prices are not the same everywhere in the world. And if you have a strong currency, a dollar, the euro, pounds, you can go many places in the world and do very well, which to you would be little money. I mentioned the one year we spent in Mexico, it was $23,000 for everything, a private bilingual school for my son, an apartment, all the meals out. And it was very enjoyable. And now that's an example of international geo arbitrage. And there are many sweet spots in the world that could be pulled off. I think it'd be difficult to pull that off in, say, Paris or, London, so you got to pick maybe a off the beaten path place, smaller place. But even within the United States, there are places where it just doesn't cost as much to live. I mentioned before my house, $68,000 to buy it. I know that's not typical of a house price here in most of the U.S. My rent in Douglas, Georgia was $500 a month. You know, I had a pool.
Amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and I was fine. It's just actually liked it there. No yard care. I was happy that year. Um, so and same thing for like eating out. You know, I remember tweeting out something about that. Papa John's had a two large pizza special running there forever, and with tax, it ended up being $10.70 for two pizzas. I'm not saying, you know, it's like eating pizza in Italy or anything, but $10.70, I can eat a pepperoni pizza,
Yeah,
sausage,
I'll take
like
it.
that.
All right.
You know, and my friends are like, "Are you kidding me? It's that cheap there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess they're just trying to keep business in the door, you know." And it's like that here in many ways, you know. South Georgia, where I currently live, Statenville, small place. You know, it's you could live here, I don't know, 1,500, 2,500 a month, depending on how you know, how frugal you are. It's not, it's certainly not living in big city America, you
Hmm.
know, and that's been a real key to us being able to save so hard is that geo arbitrage component. I actually wasn't even really aware that that was what we were doing. Um, and I didn't realize how low cost, you know, where I was compared to other places I could have gone to. For example, you know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you should go teach in Florida." Well, at the time, real estate was really high in Florida,
Hmm.
and teachers are paid less. So I would have had a more expensive mortgage on less pay. So I was just instinctively, you know, I like the beach as much as anybody, but you know, it just wasn't going to work for me.
Hmm.
And that's why I find myself still in Georgia.
Have you read the Quit Like a Millionaire or that
Yeah, I
blog?
love that book.
That's one of my favorites, but I love on her blog, I forget exactly what something like math that shit up, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's
That's what I'm thinking of when you're talking about the Florida thing. Like, well, if you math it up, that doesn't make sense. Um,
yeah, that's a great book.
oh my gosh, that's my favorite right now, I think. Um, can you think of one of your biggest money mistakes from the past?
Oh, there's a lot. Basically, being financially ignorant until mid 30s, even with an MBA. Um,
Reach. That's me here.
yeah, you know, never saving anything for the future. You know, I didn't have IRA money or anything mid 30s. Um, when I took my job in LaGrange, there was a 457. I didn't really understand how I could use it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think our rent was 625 a month in a 2 bedroom, 2 bath apartment. So if we just stayed there and not bought a house and worked the 5 to 7 years, well, we did 7, but then we just done those 7 years in an apartment doing that 457, I think we'd have come out like fire ready
Mm-hmm.
much more quickly. I kind of view that as a missed opportunity. Um, bought too much house. You know, we had 3 people when it was all said and done and 2,200 square feet, 5 bedrooms. That's kind of ridiculous. I wasn't bad on cars. I wasn't bad on credit cards. I did over. I didn't. I pretty much maxed out my HELOC on that house. You know, I would live from that to make sure I was able to funnel things in. So when I did sell my house, I had some equity, but not. I don't even remember how much it was. 50,000. Not
Mm-hmm.
as much as you would think. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a perfect person. But that's why I focus so hard on maxing out all those tax advantage accounts. If I screw a lot of things up, I know that's going to be my saving grace, just those pots of money. Um, you know, I can't say I had any really horrible mistakes like with credit cards or because I never had any money and I knew that was poison. I knew
Mm-hmm.
that would sink my ship. But I knew people that were doing stuff like that. I used to think that was crazy. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have those stories. Um, the student loan, that was kind of scary when I did that. I had $20,000 and my wife had 25. I didn't like that feeling being in debt. Um, so, and I did pay that off very quickly. But you know, in hindsight, maybe I would have stayed in the state of Georgia for grad school and just kind of piecemealed my graduate work that way. I'm glad I went to Texas, though. That was really great. I loved it. But you know, there are many things I could have done differently. And if I'd have done all those things differently, i.e., perfectly, where would I be? You know, I, I mean, I've had kids ask me because some of them do read my blog and they kind of looked at the numbers and stuff. And I just told one kid, it was 2 years ago, I said, you know, if I knew like 30% of the things that I know now, the things I'm telling you, I feel comfortable saying my net worth might be 8 figures. And you can see this kid,
Like,
like he just got freight trained. He's like, "Are you kidding?" I'm like, "No, I really think because once you figure out how money works, you start saving money, investing it, and time kicks in and compounding. You don't have to be a genius to do that stuff, especially through the run that's happened, in the stock market.
mhm.
So, you know, but we're not perfect people, we're humans. So we just do what we can. And I hope that my story helps some people.
Absolutely. I know your stories help people. It's helped at least me. But okay, how about anything? Has there been anything more recent, like when you started becoming more like savvy with the 403Bs, 457s? Do you ever accidentally like try to switch something or try to get into, I don't know, even the 72T and like realize after the fact, like, crap, if I had done that differently, I wouldn't have been taxed this way, or anything like that, that like, I don't know, red flags for other
Yeah.
people to look out for?
Well, yeah, like the 72T I did. I don't know if I would do that again. And the reason being is I have to take those. Let's say I can't remember what it is. If it was $350,000 and I'm taking 10,000 and change out of that every year. Well, I have to do that till I'm 59 and a half. So like that pot of money, if I want to convert it to Roth, I'm not going to do that till after 59 and a half. So it's in one sense, it's for me, it's off limits. And I know there's some like wizards out there that could tell me I could do that, but there's too many penalties that could kick in on a 72T if it's done wrong. And I'm just not even going to mess with that, being
Mhm.
that I'm almost 57. So I'm still moving other money to Roth gradually. I don't even think I'm going to get to that pot. But I realized maybe I'd have just done Roth IRA conversions,
Mhm.
or but I don't really do too much maneuvering
Simple.
between funds.
Yeah.
I mean, I do Roth conversions from our regular traditional IRA just so that that will be tax free. I did this past year in one of my annuity products when the market went so low. I think I moved $18,000 over to their index fund, and it's got more fees than I would like to pay, but the market was just bottoming out. So, and that I think I've made like $5,000 on that 18. That's just because the market was low. Wasn't that what they had for me
Months.
to?
Yeah.
So, but that was like, this is a big year of maneuvering for me as far as moving money around. Like all my cash positions and things, I jumped in and got back in the market when it was down.
Hmm.
And not all in one day. I did it over the course of, I don't know, a week. So, or maybe 2 weeks. But usually I don't do a lot of moving. The only moving I do is when I leave a job, I'll move things to better investment platforms, like the Vanguards, the Schwabs, or Fidelities.
Is that something that you're comfortable doing on your own, moving it, or do you have to hire someone? I don't know if that would be
Well,
an accountant or someone even within Vanguard or whatever to help
well,
you with it.
yeah. There's generally the like for in my case, my school, that the people that run that account, they will help you. They're probably not happy to see the money go,
Hmm.
but I'm sure I'm not the only one that moves my money. But I give you an example. This year, I moved money from an investment I had for my HSA, and I went on to Fidelity, and they had the paperwork. They had like they they how do you explain this? You just put in the information, it walked you through it, and then it just put in a PDF file that you sent to them. And it was, I was a little nervous about it because it was like $60,000. I was moving, yeah, and then you're just like, oh, I don't want this to become a taxable event. And it took like 3 weeks to clear, I guess. And it's all there. It's all at Fidelity. But if you feel a little nervousness when you're moving money, that's okay because yeah, I'm nervous too when that, and I'm always, checking the balance, see if it's made it to that from point A to point B yet. Um, I would just ask the people that I'm investing with, or you could call up Vanguard and say, look, I'm looking to do a rollover from my 403B. Can you help me with the paperwork? They have a whole staff of people that do that. Yeah. And just tell them you need hand holding because I think after you do it once or twice, you feel better about it. Now, sometimes the forms and things change. That's why I'm in the process of moving some of my wife's money. And I went there and the forms look like they've changed and it's kind of confusing. And it makes me wonder if that's by design.
I wonder that a lot with a lot of this field. if it's confusing enough, people don't mess with it, and they'll just go with the guy.
Yeah, it'll stay. Yeah, yeah. I am going to move that money no matter what. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it makes you wonder. Well, I really don't even wonder about that anymore. I don't view 403Bs are not set up for us. I kind of view them. They're made to make other people money. If you leave them with them, it's some of the fees are so bad. It's crazy, from my view.
Yeah, and I was so excited when I started learning about 457s, and apparently the New York deferred compensation plan is a very inexpensive option and with good results. So I was so excited to get involved in that. Now I can't. But
Is
next
that
time,
the
next go around.
is that the plan that has like the 6 or 8% guaranteed, or is
No,
that a New York City?
that must be New York City. Our set of like, a lot of like 403Bs are 0.9 or 0.7% with that.
Oh, wow,
But it's
yeah,
like, whoa, that's no money. And it's still based on like a huge index, so
yeah,
I wanted to get involved next time.
yeah.
Now
I
I've
know it's
looked up like certain districts that are on that, deferred compensation site, and I'm looking for jobs specifically to come up in those districts, so I don't have to fight to get the 457.
yeah. You want that to be there, so
I
then in
thought
a year
that
you can roll that out.
here because they are signed up, but oh well. All right, so advice for besides like just get started and go early. Advice for new teachers, people that might be coming in and like are clueless, like I have been, and you were before 35 or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's say, well, congrats, you got a job. Be prepared. You're going to be totally exhausted, stressed out, and you need to, at some point, to learn about your pension, particularly when do you invest? When do you vest? Like, when are you guaranteed something at the back end? And at what age can you retire? Like here in Georgia, it's 60. After I worked 10 years, it doesn't have to be consecutive, just 10 years in the system. You need to know things like that. You need to know if your system is, pretty straightforward, like here in Georgia, or if it's got some wrinkles and twists and turns. You're gonna have to navigate that. You probably need to talk to someone about your age group, your age, maybe 1 or 2 years of experience who might know that, because you want to first learn about your pension. You don't want to leave pension money on the table, and the reason being is there's the money that you probably have to contribute from your salary, but there's an amount that your district or your state is contributing to that's generally double that. Well, if you leave, you only get to pull out your little portion. That state and local district amount, that just falls to the pot. So you want to make sure that when you leave, you've got as much retirement as you can. Now, I'm not saying you got to do it 30 years, but whatever works for you. The next thing is open an IRA. You can open an IRA at Schwab or Fidelity with $1. Okay. You need to have your account set up. If you have a friend that's savvy with that, if you can't figure it out on the site, call a friend who's savvy with that. I'm currently doing that with people at the school. Students that are 18 or older, they've come to me, and other employees. I just sit down with them. They bring their routing number and their bank account. We set that up. And because the biggest impediment for most people is not having the accounts open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I like IRAs because you get to pick where you go with that, which means you get to control your expenses and your investment options. Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, excellent choices. And then, you have to look at that 403B, 457 and figure out some of that. HSA, I know it sounds like this is overwhelming, but just keep in mind, like personal finance, like many things, at first it sounds like I'm speaking Chinese. But once you get a little bit of terminology, it's not going to be that complex. Okay. And if someone's trying to make it complex to you, they're probably trying to pull the wool over your eyes, because I view complexity as the realm of the charlatan. Um, Investing does not have to be complicated. You can use index funds, target retirement funds. You need to understand what those are. You need to read about those. A lot of good books now about that, The Simple Path to Wealth.
Mm-hmm.
It would be time well spent. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know where else to go with this. You're just going to have to do a little bit of learning,
I think that's the biggest thing is like understanding at least the basics before you do anything, because I mean, I see what you're saying as far as like if it seems too complicated, then someone's, But on the other end of it, if it's too easy, if it's the person in the, teacher's lounge who's bringing in donuts or pizza or whatever,
Oh yeah.
beware of that person too, because they're so nice. They're trained to be so nice, and friendly, and they'll make their
Yeah.
chicken off of you. So they'll
I,
be your
I've
best friend. So
I've
be careful.
I've never met an advisor I don't like,
Yeah.
ever. It's just the reality. You've got to be affable to do that. I don't want the service they're paying, and I certainly don't want the price that it costs.
Yeah.
So, um,
What about for like teachers who are maybe in their 40s or 50s who are just getting started with all of this and don't have much of a retirement? Do you have any suggestions for them?
yes, they have to make sure they're going to get vested in the pension. Okay, minimum amount for sure. Like if it's 10 years, you got to at least get that in. I've got I've been talking to about this and trying to stress. I know you're burnout, but you need to go an extra year. You got to get that. The other thing is you need to realize it's not too late. You can actually make up a lot of ground through hardcore savings, but you're going to have to look at, maxing out accounts. So like IRAs, all those accounts we've mentioned before. So if you get an opportunity to coach or do extended day, you might have to buckle up and do that, knowing that money is going to go fund those accounts. But you just can't throw in the towel and say it's over. I'm going to be poor forever, because you will be if that's the approach you're going to have. There's not going to be. I just don't think there's going to be any government uh, help on any of that stuff. I'm really concerned about. There's a lot of people with no retirement. Best thing you do is save, $100, $200, $300,000 for yourself. And that sounds like a lot of money. We don't have a lot, but it can be done, especially like a teaching couple or two people working.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just, my wife and I did 130 last year saved. Okay.
That's amazing.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of years of doing something like that, and we're over 50, so we had ways to save more. But, a couple of years of 50, 60, $70,000 saved, that will do a lot for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it also improve your mood dramatically. It might make your job more tenable. You can stay a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've come across a lot of people who are like that, who just are banking on the pension. And,
That was my
mentally
case.
it's
Yeah.
a
Because I didn't
struggle.
understand it, I thought, well, I'm earning a pension, so that's what I'll live off. I didn't look into it even to know the basics of you're not going to live off your pension. Like there's not enough quite coming in, at least for me, who's not going to be there for 30 years, you know.
Right.
So to know, yes, it helps, but that can't be your only plan. At least for me, that can't be my only plan.
Yeah, I think if this were my last year, I think I'm looking at maybe a pension of 30 to 31,000. And my wife's gonna have maybe 20 to 22,000. So not bad between
That's
us,
doable. Yeah.
but that's 18, 16 years each,
Mm-hmm.
So, but we have other money, but I'd hate to know I had to go 12 more years to get full pension.
Right.
Would be a grumpy bear.
So we talked about a couple of our favorite resources, books that we like, blogs, that kind of thing. What are your top, maybe when you were getting started? I know you mentioned 403b.org was one of your first to learn about the 403b. What are
Yeah,
some other
403B wise. Yeah.
403b wise? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that one really gave me the lowdown on what's going on in the 403B market, and that helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
As far as blogs, I'm talking, this is 2002, 2003. I don't remember reading any blogs. You might read some John Bogle books, the Boglehead Guide to Investing. I think Paul Farrell, what was that called? It was a book about just simple investing. And there were a lot of books like that out there, because I gravitated toward the passive investment approach, indexing. That's what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pretty much knew what I wanted to do, but the fire movement hadn't kicked off yet. And I consider myself, a proponent of fire, and with all the naysayers now. But I really like Mr. Money Mustache because he helped me understand the value of frugality. And not that I was a worst case scenario, but I realized I could be a little more optimized in that area. And he's a good writer. He's funny. I really like the guys at Choose Five, Brad and Jonathan. I think they're doing great work. I think most teachers would benefit from that. Just start at their, I think they have like a start page. Where they just kind of walk you through all the stuff, the
Mm-hmm.
fire movement. There's just so much, it's information dense. And if you can hang with it for a couple of months and just kind of take in some of the information, you'll be at a different place as far as your financial knowledge. And you won't be a mark in the teacher's lounge. You understand what's up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you'll just feel like you have more control in your decision making. So I love the fire movement, and I know not everyone's going to do, they're going to work 7 to 10 years and never work again. A lot of teachers are going to work quite a bit, but like I said earlier, I like the five part because it just gives you a different worldview. You have more options, more freedom. The stress is off. If your boss came in and said, you know what, you're horrible, you're fired, I'd grab a box, start getting my things.
Apparently, this isn't
You
gonna
know, I mean, sorry you feel that way. Good luck.
work.
you know, and it also makes you as an employee, you just have more. You can tell people when they ask your opinions on things, you can tell them, not be a jerk, but you can just give honest assessments, like that's not working. I don't think that's going to help. You're not worried about like ruffling someone's feathers, you know?
Yeah.
So
All right, my final question for you to wrap up our second. Thank you so much for doing two different
sure.
meetings in such a short time. I appreciate it.
I love to talk.
Oh, good. Well, I'll check back in with you every couple months because I love getting the insight like this. And it's so selfish of me, and I'm so lucky that so many people are just willing to spread their knowledge like this. And when I'm so ready to learn, that I don't know who else may ever come across these YouTube videos, but I'm just appreciating selfishly that I can get this firsthand knowledge. So thank you. My
Sure.
last question for you is your ideal, between you and your wife, what you've discussed is like your ideal fire retirement life. Like do you want to completely retire? Do you want to be picking up different things in retirement, like certain things that you want to do? I know you've mentioned possibly writing a book at one point.
Yeah. um, yeah, that's I got to do that. Here I am years later saying that.
I heard that on a years ago
Yeah, no, it's
podcast.
uh, yeah, it's embarrassing. Um, the other thing is I'd like to go to language school, or at least to like say France or Italy, or
Mhm,
I mean, or just drive up to Quebec. I got things like that I still want to do.
mhm.
There will always be a workout component, reading component, good food, good wine, beers, things like that. But as far as I like slow travel, and my wife does too. So we might get a base in Mexico, or we might just like do long-term rentals in Mexico. But there's some other parts of the world I would like to see slowly, like Thailand, and I just want to kind of check out some like places like Georgia, Sri Lanka. We've been to India, and that we like that. We'd probably like to make another visit. But there's a lot of stuff to see. We love Portugal, Brazil. I want to go back to Argentina, Uruguay. So it's kind of hard to say this is what we're going to do. But I think we're going to spend a lot of time in Mexico. We'll have our base here in Georgia, possibly, or I think so. And we'll take probably one adventure trip a year. 2 to 3 months. I guess that would, and then Mexico, it's adventure, but it's like a known adventure.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things I absolutely love about Mexico. I really miss Mexico a lot. Just the people, the climate, the food. It's just, I don't know. Like my son said it best. He said, I don't know, Dad. It's just different feel when you're there. It's Mexico, and you just know it as soon as you're in the airport. And I know a lot of people have places like that that are special to them.
Hmm.
So I'll probably have 1 foot in Mexico, 1 foot here, and we'll pull both feet up and go take an adventure trip. And I realize I'm no spring chicken. At some point that those adventures might seem less appealing. So I'd like to do those while I've still got the zeal and the vigor.
Hmm.
That's why I work out all the time. It keeps me going. I want to be this crazy old man gallivanting around the world.
Awesome. It's going to I mean, your on and off again retirement's already been showing that ability and the ability to pick up right, right back where you started. If you find a project you want to do or a part-time little gig, even in Mexico, who knows,
Yeah. Well, I wrote a thing one time. It's sketched out, but it was basically how to work 9 months and take 14 off
Mm-hmm.
and just wash, rinse and repeat. And basically, you teach 9 months, basically 10 months, 9 months, but you take a job, leave a job, take a job. And I thought, what if I've been doing this since day one and saving all saving all the money in the accounts, right? And I'd had a really sketchy resume, but somebody would have hired me because I would probably been living in Latin America. My Spanish had been off the charts. And so, well, I go back to Mexico and that's how I keep my skills going. But I realized that would be very odd to many people, but it would have been very lucrative and been very adventurous, 9 on and 14 off.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to thank you again. I don't want to keep you too late. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking 2 nights out of your week here to discuss this with me and share this information with us. It's very helpful. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Any other shout outs you want to do? Any other places you want to direct people to find you or to anything else?
Just millionaireeducator.com. You can find me there, and ed_mills_ on Twitter. Everybody learn to save hard and invest. ESI, earn, save, invest, as I tell my students, and financial literacy. I do this because I want to hear success stories. If you have a success story, please share, because that's why we do this. I've got money to do what I want. I just want to see other people in better position. That's why I do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
Talk soon. Have a great night.
You too. Enjoy those kids.
Thank you. Will do.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.